I can't think of a single good experience I've ever had with the VR4, but for some reason, I still love them. Any car guy will understand this struggle. In my most recent disastrous VR4 experience, I dropped it off at a mechanic across the country, something I never do, and soon regretted. After holding my car hostage for over 3 years, I was finally able to track it down and took the trip to go rescue it. Although I dropped the car off running and cosmetically perfect, I got back a pile of parts and a car with no engine in it. After crashing out for a while, I told myself I was going to see this through and make this car absolutely perfect. This has been no easy task thus far, but my nightmare has honestly just begun. After building a new engine and finally getting the car running, I'm now struggling with arguably my least favorite thing in the car world: vintage foreign electronics. In this video, I'm going to attempt to get the car rolling down the road for the first time in 10 years. Grab a drink and relax as you watch me fight this car tooth and nail. I've come up on hopefully what is my last hurdle on this car. Right now, it is starting up. It's idling fine, it has good oil pressure, it's not overheating, and I can actually put down the road a little bit, but that is about all I can do. The second I try to get into any sort of boost, get the car under any sort of load, it violently backfires. It does one of these. So what I'm trying to figure out is how I can go about fixing this, because the car is a 91, which means it is an OBD1, not a 2, so it's really hard to kind of get in there and get some actual information. And here is my current situation. When I first bought the car, I had this factory ECU in it, and when I put that engine in that I bought from the guy that all this trouble came from, it wouldn't crank, it wouldn't do anything, it wouldn't fire over. So I bought what is called a chromed ECU. It is a like aftermarket ECU that has the ROM data from a 99 in it, and if you convert it over to OBD2, then you can use what's called a Tactrix cable to get into this and get information, see live data, tune it. The problem is, I can't find that. I don't know if they just didn't send it to me, that given this was 3 years ago, or if I had lost it or something like that. But the cable and the Tactrix thing to get in here, they're selling for like almost $1,000 now. The cheapest one I've seen recently was $700, and I can just get a new ECU for that. So I'm not going to mess around with anything like that. What that's doing for me is I cannot get into this ECU right now. It's basically having an issue and I can't figure out what it is. So I was able to actually track this back down. I looked through my attic, through my shed and all that kind of stuff, and found this in a pile of old VR4 parts. And I think I'm going to try to crack this open and actually fix the board, because with this, then I can actually use the pinout method where you ground 2 of the pins on the OBD1, and then that will flash me the code and I can figure out what the actual issue is going on with this car. I have 2 ECUs. One of them is good, but I can't get anything out of it, and one of them is bad, so I get nothing out of it. So that's what my struggle is right now. So I'm going to head over to Micro Center and see if I can match up some of these capacitors on here and kind of just go from there. In a ideal situation, I would have that Tactrix cable. I just can't find one. I've made multiple offers. I've put down like money towards one, and then the guy, I think, found out that they sold for more than what he accepted, and then he deleted the post and reposted it up again for a couple $100 more, and it's still sitting there. I'm a pretty proud person, so I'm not gonna stoop to his level and buy it for that amount. So I'm gonna have to find another one. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm stuck on this thing. So let's get that ECU sorted out and we'll see what we can get. All right, let's see if we can spot our problem area. All I know is this wasn't working. That's about it. She's looking pretty clean though. I have found the issue. If you look down in there, you can see some leakiness coming out of one of these capacitors. So honestly, not that hard of a fix. I just have to figure out which one it is, and I should be able to get that squared away. Okay, scratch that, because you know what I just found? So the ECU sits sideways like this, so this cap leaked all onto this board right here. Every single one of them is destroyed. I am knowledgeable enough to replace that. I have no idea what I would do with this. So I did a little bit of research. I've worked on this kind of stuff before, but I am far from knowledgeable. And this is a 100 MF capacitor, 16 volt. And from what I have found, you can use higher voltage as long as the other number is correct. So I got a few capacitors from Micro Center and some soldering goodies. And then I bought this cleaner. I'm gonna use some toothpicks and a Q-tip, and hopefully I can rectify this situation because I think this is my only outlet right now. All right, here's what we're working with. Better view of this board right here. Pretty bad corrosion. I have some cleaner. I'm gonna try to get that out, and then you can see where it had leaked and ran off onto this board. The actual capacitor is not looking amazing. I have a not exact, but very similarly spec'd one right here. 100 MF, 100 MF. So we're good to go on that. I just got to make sure my positive's on the right side. So yeah, it'll sit like this here. I just have to clean that up first. It looks substantially better. Got most of that corrosion off there. Still got a couple little bits of stuff on here, but I'm hopeful. There it is. So I'm gonna throw this one in and hopefully it starts. I would be amazed if it did, but I also need it to drive around enough to be able to throw the fault code. So if I can get it running and driving enough to get the faults, that would be awesome. Like I was saying before, if this even starts, I'll consider that a win. Okay. Definitely not running right though. So this plan I think is going to fall through. The car is very obviously misfiring right now. So I don't think it's going to run good enough for me to be able to pull codes off of it. Although I have a really high idle, the misfire does seem to have cleaned up. It does not feel like it's going to be driving any better though. Yep. Same thing. Alright, let's just go back down the hill, I guess. Barely got out of my driveway. Awesome. I think I have a check engine light, so that will be nice. Nope, no check engine light. God damn it. The crazy thing is it's actually driving better on this factory ECU now after my janky repair fix. But thankfully, as you can see, that might be the only time anybody's ever said that. Thankfully, I have a check engine light, so my house is a couple up. I'm gonna try to limp it in the garage, hopefully gets up the driveway hill. Maybe I'll just try to build some speed, and then I will use the probing method to see what I can come up with as far as check engine light. Come on, baby. Come on, speed. It's not running properly, but it's also not popping and backfiring. All right, let's see what our light is. All right, I apologize for the beeping, but I have to do this with the door open. So I am gonna get these in the right positions. I'm gonna probe right here, and if I get long, like jumps in voltage, that is a 10 count, like a 10, 20, 30, 40. Short flashes are single, so if I get like 2 long counts and then 1 short one, 21. So let's see what I end up getting here. Okay. I gotta make sure it's touching. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 1. 31. Okay, let's see if it'll do any more. 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, so I think that's the only code that's on here. And that would make sense because we're definitely getting some detonation. Now, I don't know if that means the code is for the actual knock sensor or if the knock sensor is like detecting something. And just as you'd guess it, the knock sensor lives way, way down in there. And I ended up actually, like when I received all these parts back, I had a knock sensor missing. So I went to, I think, Advanced, because that was the only place I could get one over the counter, and bought one. It was like 90 bucks, so it wasn't cheap. I'm hoping that the sensor's not actually bad. So I was really hoping this issue would be the knock sensor, but I don't think it is, because I have this set to volts, and then I have this connected to the negative of the knock sensor wiring. And then I'm going to probe this onto the positive. And you'll notice as I'm sitting here, nothing is really happening. But as soon as I got to get this stabilized before I can try to demonstrate anything. And the pins are garbage on this replacement one. See that? So, I think the engine is detecting knock rather than saying, hey, the knock sensor's bad, unless this section, the harness side, is not good. So I'm going to test continuity between this and pin 58 of the ECU. If I get continuity, that means the engine is just detecting knock, and that will have told me absolutely nothing new. And this one is pin 58 right there, and check this out. So I have this wire running all the way up to the front into the knock sensor, so we're getting continuity through there. And I'm pretty sure the ground side of this is just grounded to one of these universal grounds on the ECU or on the body. So I don't think the sensor or any of the components with the sensor is the problem. That means the engine is actually getting some severe knock, and I can't, like, it's not pulling up codes for anything like that, unfortunately. You would think if it's knocking that bad, it'd say, hey, this is why you're knocking, but I guess not. Another update, every sensor on the engine that I could trace back to the ECU, I did a continuity test. The harness is fine. That's all I've got for now. Check back in a minute. Okay, a couple more updates. So I ended up triple checking timing. That was exactly where it needed to be. I actually removed the blow-off valve and kind of folded this over and clamped it out to make sure that wasn't leaking any boost. I did a boost pressure check through both of the intercooler systems. So the only place that boost could be leaking out, because it's not testable, is up here in the intake. That smoke tester over there, I fired it up, didn't work, so great product there. Next, I'm going to come over to the throttle position sensor, and the way you adjust this, because the car is running a little bit better, but I just want to try to get every system it has down to what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to put a feeler gauge, you can see it right here, in between the throttle screw and the actual throttle right here. And then you take a multimeter and you set it to resistance. Grab the 4th pin down, and then you hit it with the 2nd pin, or the 3rd pin, and then you see how there's some resistance. You're supposed to spin that with that feeler in there to kind of push it away and get it to the point where you have no resistance. So I'm going to twist it this direction, check it again. So that's probably about where it needs to be. Now I'm going to re-gap the plugs in the back. I just did the front. Just close the gap a little bit just in case I have a weak ignition system. I don't want to get blowout or anything. So maybe that plus adjusting that and tweaking the timing, as well as like capping off any of these things that could have given me boost leaks. Maybe that'll do something. I also have a temporary boost gauge set up right here because I found out, or I remembered, that the factory one up here is just a is guessed from the load of the ECU, so there's no actual boost. So I ran this just temporarily just to make sure I am making the right boost that I think I am to kind of judge what's going on here. So I was making like 8 to 9 pounds while I was out driving around, but the car still was just didn't have any balls. So that's the problem I'm trying to figure out still. And while I let this cool, I'm going to go to the store to get some parts for my S8. Coincidentally, these two are both having the same issue, misfiring under load. Well, this one's more of a misfire and stumble, and it doesn't idle properly. And this one is more so of just a lack of balls once it gets into boost. So if you're interested in these types of things, it's a V10 stuffed into the tiniest little engine bay. I think I have a bad injector on this. I literally just pulled them out and cleaned them, and then it just went bad. But you have to pull off this whole intake. So I'm just going to try to get as harsh of a cleaner as I can, see if that'll unstick that. If not, I'm going to have another video on something like this here soon. And now what is happening is this ECU that I have fixed is going back in, but I need a little bit more information than just the codes that are flashing. So I'm going to build a cable that can go from the OBD1 port to an OBD2, so I can use a data logger built for these cars and actually get some more information out of it. So I have this cable here that I could potentially use to data log off of the ECU to figure out what's going on, but due to it being a cheap product, and it's the only one that'll fit, so I had to buy the cheap product. I had somebody send me this, which I need to somehow change these pins around, and so I'm just researching what type of cable it is, seeing if I can split it open and try to repin everything. Okay, so what I've figured out here is I got these all pinned out, figured out that there is no wire at all going from the right to, but this is like a fixed piece, so there is a pin inside here in each one of these. Like there are blanks, but there's actual pins in them. So I might try to drill into this top section here and see if I can access that pin. That way I can solder on my own wire to make this thing complete circuit. So what I have done here is I kind of dremeled down into this pin on this side and this side as well, and I'm going to solder this wire there to connect the two, then tape it up to make it not look like this. And I should be able to read my car with this data logger right here. I think it was a success. Looking at all this stuff, all the pins are now in the right spot. And then I dremeled down into this connector because there was an existing connector in there and bridged them across, and I made sure not to make it too low so it can actually slide into our connectors. So I'm going to tape this up, make it look a little bit better, and I think I've made a dongle. Okay, it plugged in and is reading. I don't know how much information it's going to give me, but we'll see. had somebody send me this data logger and then this cable, which wasn't right, and he was not able to use it. So I kind of hacked it up and built my own, plugged this in, and my timing was reading way different than it was on the actual car. So I got my timing light back out. On these cars, you have to ground this brown terminal to somewhere on the body, and that'll put the car in the right mode to test timing. I went over here and the timing was set to like 5 or 6. That was reading like 22. So then I pulled this off. This is where you adjust timing. You undo this bolt and push it this way or this way. And I had another one sitting around for some reason. Threw that in, adjusted timing properly, and I could make power. I don't know if it was a connection, which I doubt because I undid and did that 5-10 times over. I think it was actually something internally wrong with this, which I know is not very common. Either that or the male connector on this side had an issue. But I can actually get into boost now. So I am going to change my oil again for like the 10th time. And then I have a boost gauge that I want to wire in because this is not... this one does not read properly. I don't like a bunch of aftermarket gauges and stuff, so I'm going to find a real stealthy place to put this tiny one. I think I'm going to keep the factory ECU too, and just use this as a backup while I look for the right cable for it. Button up the interior, and then I just have a lot of cleaning and rearranging up in here to do. You can tell there's, a lot going on. I've already got some of the vacuum a little bit cleaner, but have to put all the dressing plates and actually wipe this down. But then after that, I'll go for an actual drive, put a couple miles on it, and just kind of see where to go from there. I'm sure there's a little bit of leaks and stuff, so I bought a new smoke tester. I'll do that after everything cools down. And then once that ends and I get the alignment done, the only thing I have to do is, unfortunately, take the timing belt back off because I have a front main seal leak. It seems to have got better over time. You can see there's 2 drips there. The other is the AC. So it's like a couple drips per time I park it. You got to remove the timing belt and all the accessories and everything. It just is not fun. It's a small enough leak that I'm going to get the car right first and then redo that timing. But it's a happy day for me. I've got the ECU back in its home right here. You can see the 2 tabs. I have no clue what this relay is for. I think it has something to do with the alarm. If you know, drop a comment, let me know. This is all aftermarket alarm stuff too. It's an alarm that looked like it was put in like 1995. I really don't want to mess with it because the car starts right now. I also was able to get this thing pinned up into the right spot. Somebody broke 2 tabs off and then just neglected to put these stay bolts in right here. So I actually have that up, and then once I bolt those 2 in, I think the kick panel goes in and the interior is back to normal. And then the other ECU, I think I'm just gonna throw in the glove box. I don't know how many people that keep an extra ECU in their glove box, but I guess I'll be one of them. I found some more goodies from the previous owner while I was doing all this. Check out these Altoids. They smell terrible. I'm assuming this was like a hard candy of some sort. And then, look at this. We have a tobacco depot, expired in 2009. What an interesting little find. That shows you how long it's been since this car has really been up and going, if I found that stuff sitting there. All right, but interior's back together, so time to get the rest of it cleaned up and get a little bit driving under our belt. I just found the plate that the car came with when I bought it, which is pretty cool. Expires in 2016, which means the last time this thing could have potentially seen the road was 2015. I think it was honestly way longer ago than that, judging by the looks of some of these things. Super cool. I've got to get my registration up to date too. All right, let's take this thing on a test drive and see what it can do. See if I can get into boost. The interior layout on these is super cool. I love like the driver's focused stuff and like the humps over top of these. Kind of reminds me of the Viper in the period. All right. gonna do this and then park it up and probably come back to it tomorrow. It's one of our last nice days, so I'm probably gonna take the boat out. Say bye to my other babies over there. So our house is in like a little bit of a valley here. You go backwards, left or right, and you have to go up a hill to get anywhere. So the furthest this thing is driven is, I turned left to go up this hill and I popped my intercooler piping off right there, and that was it. So if I can make it up this hill, that is a plus. Alignment's pulling really hard. Oh yeah, boost. Sounds good too. T's and P's looking good. Now the final test is this really big hill over here to the left. Watch when I let go of the steering wheel. Whoop. Oh yeah. Pressure's increasing with RPM. That's cool. Got a check engine light. I'll take a look at that when I get back. Wow, this is nice. Back around this way, and I will be back home. Big hill. This is that hill it couldn't get up. Some engine braking, help those rings a little bit, I guess. Hop her into first. AC compressor is not sound amazing. At least it's almost full. For you guys boat people as well, because check this thing out. Love, love, love this boat. Oh. And one of the best bits, the Mer Cruiser. Check this out. Sure, it annoys everybody on this lake, but man, it's fun. And with that, we'll end this video. Thank you for following along on this VR4 story. It's probably not going to be over because it's a VR4 and it's going to break in about 35 miles, but for the time being, it is. Good way to end it right here, and I will catch you guys next time.